how can you leverage the Augmented Intelligence's reports or capabilities to mitigate churn risk? Hello, my customer success friends. Today, we're sitting down with Prithwi Dasgupta. Prithwi is a CEO and the founder of SmartKarrot. SmartKarrot is a software for customer success with smart, actionable intelligence. I invited Prithwi to discuss why is it so important for SaaS companies to track churn reasons and to identify why customers churn, and how can we leverage technology to do so in a scalable way. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone, subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the great videos that we produce on customer success. A lot of companies talk about you have to have usage data in order to track churn as an early warning system and to be able thereby mitigate churn risk. What do you think about usage data? And what role does it play in mitigating churn risk, in your opinion?
The actual answer lies in the details of what usage data and how are you calculating usage data. And I'll give you a few examples because, if you're saying who has logged in as usage data, people may log in and then log out. It will still count as usage, but they're still not using your system. Teams are oriented towards this login data. Nuances there are which systems typically or solutions, what we have seen, are used by different personas within the organization. So depending on who the persona is, are you able to map the usage to that? So see, most platforms, let's say, have a reporting or a BI layer. Ours does too. And usage of that module is typically more with the admin, with the finance, with the CXO layer, not as much with the CSM managers themselves. But then when we are looking at usage, are we able to see who's using it? So if the right persona is using the right set of features, then you are good. Otherwise, if you aggregate it out, you may have your key stakeholders or the decision makers who are actually not using it and not seeing value out of it, whilst you drive a lot of usage amongst the other personas, you may still lose the account. So, you'll have to drill down into the nitty-gritties.
Okay, so suppose we have usage data and we have other data points to really leverage data as an early warning system. A lot of companies talk about AI, artificial intelligence. What do you think, what kind of role AI and maybe even NLP going to play?
There's so many data sources and so many moving parts. If you have to yourself sit down and query as a human, and try and correlate all of that data together. Today, point in time, you may be able to do it for one account, for two accounts, for three accounts. At scale, it is just not practical to do it. And that is where technologies like, the artificial intelligence, what we prefer to call right now is augmented intelligence, helps the practitioners and enables them to make that decision. AI has a huge role to play because the volume of data and the variety of data is very high in CS.
Would you recommend that for companies that have a very small subset of customers, or mainly as a starting point for companies with large number of customers and a lot of data?
Yeah, I think it is applicable to both because the problem being faced by both the organizations are the same. How you implement is going to be different. Obviously, the algorithm, and if you're looking at, let's say, a churn algorithm to be prepared, it just doesn't get prepared instantaneously. It needs data, it needs time to go through the learning, if you will. So absolutely, the more the data, the better it is. Mm-hmm. However, we have also seen that it's better you get best practices and adopt the technology at a certain size, and the technology grows as your data grows. And that's probably the other way to also look at it.
Okay, so obviously augmented intelligence can make those correlations between multiple data points, especially if you have a lot of users, if you have a small number of accounts, or just simply a lot of data sources for a single account, because there's so much a human can do. How can you leverage the augmented intelligence's reports or capabilities to mitigate churn risk early?
Most organizations are not able to implement learning back into a proactive situation where you can avoid it. So the correlations from that learning, which is the report, which can also be AI generated, needs to now impact your proactive operations. Most organizations have playbooks today. So how are the playbooks being optimized basis that learning? Are you able to now connect that learning back into optimizing your playbooks, back into optimizing your processes, back into how your customer success operators are interacting with your customers? How is your pricing sentiment happening? How is your next feature release or past feature release impacting your net promoter score and the overall sentiment? So a lot of correlations can happen. The best benefit of being able to leverage out of a technology like AI is to be able to connect it to automation. Can you do a lot of repetitive tasks? Can you automate a whole lot of it and do it intelligently enough, thereby providing more space and bandwidth for the practitioner to interact with the customer?
Okay, so we talked about augmented intelligence and using data to track customer reasons and identify risk early. But we haven't really talked about what kind of data sources do we need beyond usage data. What do you typically recommend your customers?
There are structured data in the ecosystem, and there is unstructured data. If you have a customer file and contract values and financial contract stuff like that, those are structured data.
Contracts are well-defined formats. That's usually like a PDF file.
It is, but within the ecosystem of the organization, it is still structured. You can still tag that this field is going to be there, and you can pick up that data.
Okay, so contract data, maybe from your billing systems or something. What other data?
Sentiment data you can pick up from your support tickets related data. You can pick up your relationship engagement related data. You can pick up your usage data, as we discussed, and a fair bit of it, right? You can pick up your touch point related data, which is also part of obviously the engagement related data. You have different channels of touch point. These are still examples of structured data. Unstructured data, for example, is a customer call, right? You had a call with the customer. It's recorded somewhere, it's stored somewhere, but it's unstructured. You don't parse it. Or even portions of emails you send out. Every practitioner has a different style of sending out an email, so it becomes unstructured data. So now with technology, if you combine the ability to correlate structured data and unstructured data together, there you see the value quotient goes up significantly higher. With structured data, you can still manage to run it with rules, if this, then that.
So leveraging augmented intelligence to find out what are the churn reasons that are common, what are the best courses of action, and teach the CSMs to become more effective with customers.
Absolutely. What are the best practices within the same team? I mean, there are one CSM will perform better than the other. Why is he or she performing better? Can you predict which of your team members need help?
Just to clarify, SmartKarrot is leveraging augmented intelligence as part of its current capabilities, or is this the direction that you're going to have in the near future?
No, we already are in large pockets, but obviously this is a journey and we intend to keep building on whatever we have right now. I do believe, even today our difference is around the augmented intelligence piece and the automation piece and connecting both together.
For those who are watching and they do not have augmented intelligence, I know we're really expanding on it. I think that's going to be the future trend for technologies in customer success. And then eventually customer success teams would expect that. But those that do not have that capability, or they have it, but it's not fully matured yet, what would be your recommendation if you were a customer success manager or you were to advise to one? What would you recommend them to do to mitigate churn risk?
For most part, I think the first thing, with or without technology, is to honestly care about your customer. You are the flag bearer of the customer to your own internal organizations. The process, the technology, everything can help them do it. So when they choose the process, they choose the technology, they have to choose one which helps themselves become successful in their roles and not necessarily adapt to what other functions want.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you found augmented intelligence super interesting area to explore, go ahead and check SmartKarrot's technology for customer success teams. I'll include the link to their website in the YouTube description below. So go ahead and check that out, set up a demo, see what they're all about. Guys, I'll see you at the next video.